Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Global Adventures, which is always super exciting. So I love to get out from behind this green screen and find new places in the world for adventure. Joining us is the star of our show, JenettaBarry and the Epiphany process, and she's going to introduce a very special guest. Welcome, Jenetta.
Hello, Dr. JACALYN, and hello, everybody else, and wonderful to be back again. And yes, we have got a special guest. This is true.
Yes, let's keep the audience waiting a little bit longer to find out who that is. Jenetta, we always start off this show really talking about the purpose of it and how it's probably not what people are going to expect. They might be expecting some type of travel show. Tell us exactly what this show is and what it means to you. Jenetta, hi.
Oh gosh, I completely lost you then. Completely lost you.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're back, so that's a good thing.
Just say that again.
Yes, if you would tell people exactly what this show is about and why it's so important to you.
Okay, I'm going to guess that you were going to talk, you asked me about global adventures and how important it is to me, because I can't hear you properly. But this show is very close and dear to my heart because, as Dr. JACALYN was saying now, it takes us from behind these green screens out into places that with such detail that we never ever realized was happening. And we've had people on the show take us to such exotic places with such heartwarming stories. And I wanted to say that if anybody out there has a story to share, then please contact me or Dr. JACALYN to come onto this show, because this is not your normal travel show where you get an itinerary and then you go here and you do all the things that tourists do. I mean, obviously, when you go to those places, you will go and do some of the touristy things. But what it's really about is more about the deeper meaning that trip has brought to you, the insight it's brought, maybe the something that's happened. You've met somebody, or you've had something that you've seen or heard or smelt that opened your heart and put you into a different place and brought you back a different person. And so I would love to invite you to join us in another episode. Do contact us. And then Dr. JACALYN, today's show, well, I'd like you to introduce who our guest is today. I'd like to hand the mic back to you. Who's our guest today?
Well, thank you, Jenetta. Our guest today is a very special person, someone who has completely changed your life and taken you on a journey of love. It's a love fest. His name is Andy Miller, and he's an expert when it comes to incentives, meetings, and events. And he is actually joining us, surprisingly, from your home in Kenya. So let's welcome him and bring him out to the program. Hi, welcome. Nice to have you
Hi,
here.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's
Yes,
absolute.
I am Jenetta's husband. That's why we're in the same environment together.
Well, it is a pleasure to meet you. I always like to meet the other half of the wonderful team. So, Andy, what is your connection to adventure? Are you someone who's always had that kind of adventurous spirit in you?
I think probably. I think it's been enhanced by the fact that my business over the last 30, 40 years has taken me to many, many, many different countries and given me many, many experiences. Fortunately, it's at the expense of my clients because I'm taking their groups of people. I also have been to a lot of places on our own. I think Jenetta did a show recently when we went to Marrakesh. So I don't only go on business trips. We go to a lot of places together. And the country we're talking about this evening is very dear to my heart.
Thank you so much, Andy. You know, we have that in common. I actually had my corporate career, most of it was spent the last 20 some years selling meetings and events to senior level executives from Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it?
It sure is. You create these memorable experience for people that they have the rest of their lives. And it really is something that stands out. And the fact that you get to travel to 5-star resorts and someone else is paying the bill is also pretty nice too.
It's wonderful. I think now is not the right time, but one of these days we'll talk about when I went to Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur and Penang and up through the jungle. That was a wonderful trip.
That sounds like another show right there. Fantastic.
Let's get through this one
It
first.
really is. So I would like to bring up the visuals for our journey, because we're going in our aeroplane now, in our USA Global TV plane, and we are going to Lappland, and now I'm having a really interesting time. There it is. Okay, so Andy's Lappland. Well, I thought I'd give a bit of a backstory. Andy and I got married last year here in the Great Rift Valley in Kenya. Some of you may have seen the program that we put together on our Baringa honeymoon. So just to go a little bit back on that, here was Andy and I just before we got married. This is our house. That's that we're actually transmitting from now. And here we are on our front veranda with all our dearest, closest friends. That's Andy's daughter on my left there, and our very good friends, the Ballards. He was our best man, and my very special friend Moira did the ceremony for us. But to go a bit back further, Andy and I first met up. We met online. We're one of those meet online people, and the very first time we got together was for a 12 p.m. lunch at a beautiful hotel in London called the Landmark Hotel. That's the Landmark. And we started eating lunch at 12, and I think it was at about 6 o'clock, because Andy was living in Oxford. He said, I've got to get home to my dog. She's sick, so I've got to go. And the rest has been history. And after that,
I have a
and just
question.
before lockdown, yes.
So you were together on the first date for 6 hours at this hotel restaurant? Wow, that's a great sign.
Yeah.
How many times had you spoken before you actually met for the first date?
I think it was a couple of times, Andy. I think the one we were on for 2 hours on the phone.
Yeah, it was very interesting, to say the least. This is one of the 5-star hotels we were talking about, JACALYN. This is the Landmark 5-star hotel that I've used extensively. It's in Marylebone, and it's definitely, if you ever come to London, then this is a good hotel to stay at.
Fantastic. Well, I'm planning on coming to London, so we can talk about that another time as well. And
Yes.
we do have a comment from our friend, I believe in Ghana, Gaffa Brumley Priestley. I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you. All right. Wow. Amazing and super loving it. Fantastic.
So what happened was that over a period of time, we realized that we really did have something. And in fact, Andy nursed me through the most horrific illness over 6 weeks. We were fairly new in our relationship and sat holding my hand in hospital over that time. And then I moved over permanently through to Oxford, where he lives. So there's the beautiful city of Oxford, and to which Andy and I at least weekly went into. We didn't live very far from that center. And in fact, our most favorite restaurant is just around the corner behind there. It just, you can't quite see it where this photograph was taken. So Andy, do you want to talk a little bit?
That building is where they confer the degrees.
Yeah.
Jenetta, for people who don't know, how far is London from Oxford?
70 kilometers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
About an hour on the train.
Yeah, unless you're coming back in traffic time. I've taken sometimes 3 hours to get home from London back home to Oxford. It's quite a thing, but it's not very far from London at all, really.
So let me explain something. This is Oxford, and the big difference between Oxford and Cambridge is that Oxford is behind walls. You will see that every college that you can see there has very high walls around it. If you go to Cambridge, the colleges don't have walls around them.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And then just very quickly, this was our journey to Marrakesh, because one of the first things we said was we both had the travel bug in us. And this was the very, very first thing we did together after I was so ill. So I just wanted to show that. And then here we go. We're now showing the map. So here's the map of Europe. And for those who might not know where Lappland is, there it is above Scandinavia and part of Scandinavia. In fact, looking up today, I saw that actually Lappland is surrounded by 3 countries, obviously Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia. And it's right at the top there. And we'll show more of a map. And of course, this is the wonderful Northern Lights. It's the land of reindeers. It's the land of Father Christmas and all his helpers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And yeah, this is taking some time to load. There we go. Look at all his helpers. So let's go back to this map. Is there anything you'd like to talk about with that, Andy?
Okay, so what we're talking about at the moment is inside the Arctic Circle, and it's Lapland in Finland, and in specifics we are visiting a place called Rovaniemi, which is about where, just up a little bit, there it is. So what I want to tell you, first of all, is that Finnish is the only language in the world that pronounces every letter of the word. So it's Rovaniemi. It's exactly the word as you read it. And the people around Rovaniemi are split into 2, really. You've got the local indigenous original people and they are actually called Sami, S-A-M-I, or occasionally Saami, which is S-A-A-M-I, and they're also called Laps with a double P, L-A-P-P. And anybody speaking the Sami language and inhabits the northern area are called Laps. The interesting thing is that if you can imagine, and you'll see some photographs soon, if you can imagine a vast, desolate area of just snow and trees, and that is the majority of the area that we're talking about during winter. The temperatures drop to minus 25 degrees. And so, as you'll see when we get into this, you have to be, the moment you arrive, you get kitted out into thermal gear. Now, you've got two areas in Finland. This is Rovaniemi, and you can see that it's built up. It's a town. And this is where the majority of the people actually live. And the interesting thing about the Finnish people here is they've become exceedingly creative. They haven't got anything. So what can they do to create a living? This is Rovaniemi. As you can see, the snow is deep, and they, whereas in the UK we tend to, the moment it snows, we don't get into our cars and we don't let our aeroplanes land because it's all that. They drive around at a normal speed with their cars. They've got snow tires on, and they are not inhibited by the environment. This Rovaniemi, it has hotels, it has shops, it has bars, restaurants, and it has the most northern McDonald's in the world. The hamburgers, reindeer meat. Okay, can we move on to another photograph? Now, we'll come to this one afterwards. Let me tell you a little bit about the Sami. They're nomadic originally for the last 1,000 years, and Sami settlements were probably over the whole country. Today they are confined to the northern extremity. We're not talking, but they are in Sweden and in Norway, and they're best known as herdsmen, reindeer. Reindeer meat is used for cooking, leather and fur, and it's used to make shoes and clothing, antlers and bones to make tools and decorative. So reindeer to the Sami are extremely important, and they also appreciate that they have to look after them and they have to propagate with them. They are the people that are living outside of the towns are still fairly primitive in comparison to the people inside the towns. And also, do you remember that in the winter, you probably only get 3 or 4 hours of daylight. The rest of it is darkest. So I first went to Finland in about 2002. And the interesting thing was you fly out of Heathrow Airport if you're going from the UK, and you fly into Helsinki. You then get off the plane quickly and you get on another plane and you fly for an hour or so to Rovaniemi. As you get off the plane, you go straight into the airport terminal and you go into a hall where they put you into thermal gear. Thermal underwear, thermal long johns, thermal jackets, trousers, boots, socks. Everything is thermal. And somewhere along the line, we do have a photograph, I think, of them getting changed into this thermal gear. You can see the guys in the background there. They are actually in their thermal gear. This lady, I'm going to tell you another story about in a minute. Because they've created the activities, there's a variety of activities that you can pursue from Rovaniemi. First of all, the most important form of transport is a skidoo. The moment you come out of the airport, you get onto a skidoo, and they are so much fun. You know, when you first start out, it's like riding a motorbike on skis, and you first start out, and you're really a bit tentative and a bit nervous. And there's a glacier that goes right through the river through Rovaniemi is actually frozen when you get there. And by the time you've had a little while on a skidoo, everybody's racing along this frozen river everywhere. And I also have to tell you that I've only ever been breathalyzed once in my life. In all my years of driving, I've only ever been breathalyzed. And that was in the middle of nowhere in the Arctic Circle, because they have zero tolerance on alcohol when you're riding a skidoo. So we got stopped in the middle of nowhere where the police stopped us and made us blow into a breathalyzer. That's how serious they take riding skidoos.
How did you do, Andy?
The other activities, beg your pardon, sorry.
How did you do? How did you do with the breathalyzer?
No, I was all right. You got to remember, I was the leader of this party, and therefore I didn't drink.
That's a good thing.
His halo was pinging.
Yeah. So the sort of activities you've got is riding skidoos. A really good fun is riding husky sleighs and reindeer sleighs. So they have taken what is nothing, and they've created something to attract tourists and generate income. And it's a lot of fun. If I can tell you that, I'm going to bring in my little moral here, because I really think people should hear this one. When I first started my event management company, I had a mentor. He was a friend of mine who'd been in the industry for a long time. And he was showing me the ropes, because I had recently moved back from South Africa. And they had a trade show at Earl's Court. And I went to this trade show, and I met a guy called Yoko Kunavaris, who was from Lappland Arctic Safaris. And I got interested in what he was saying. And then he said to me, "We've got a fam trip this weekend. Would you like to come with us?" I said, "Well, what's a fam trip?" Well, a fam is short for familiarization, which I'm sure, JACALYN, you've heard of before. And I said, "Well, how much is it going to cost me?" And he said, "Nothing. We pay for everything." So I thought, well, I can do that. I'm not doing anything this weekend. So I got back and I phoned my friend John, and I said, "John, I'm going on a fam trip." And he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Finland, to Rovaniemi." And he said, Andy, said, "You are going to get a lot of invitations to go to a lot of these fam trips, but they don't do it because they like you. They invite you because they think you're going to get business off you, and you will never, ever, ever take a trip to Finland." I said, "Oh, all right." He said, "But look, you said you're going, so go." I said, "Okay, fine, thanks." A couple of weeks later, I got an invite to go and meet some directors of a very large insurance company, which was about 40 miles from my house. So I phoned John. I said, "John, I've got an appointment to go and see these guys." And he went, "Whoa, Andy, cancel it." He said, "You can't go down there. They're all tied up with contracts. You'll never get any business. Fortunately," and this is a moral, "go with your heart." So I went to the meeting. And I have to tell you that 4 weeks later, I phoned up John. And I said, "John, I've got my first group to go to Rovaniemi in Finland." And he said, "What idiots are doing that?" I said, "That insurance company." And that was the beginning. And I've been to Rovaniemi nearly 14 times with 10 different groups. So don't believe what everybody tells you. Go with your heart and believe. And that's how I got to Finland. Sorry if I'm...
I love this story. Oh my goodness. Having been in the business, I could just relate to each part of the story, that thinking you're never going to get any business and everybody telling you it's not the right thing to do. And then lo and behold, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and on the way back, I have to tell you, that director said to me on the plane, he said, "Andy, I hate you." I said, "Why, Roy?" He said, "Because I have spent millions of pounds taking these people to some of the most exotic countries in the world. You take them to the middle of nowhere in minus 15 to 20 degrees, and you sit them down and feed them reindeer meat and mashed potato, and they say it's the best trip they've ever been on."
That is hard to believe. I
Now
love
let's
it though.
while we've got this lady up, I have to tell you that this is where you go, and she's a shaman, and she performs what is known as the Arctic Circle crossing ceremony. Now, I have to say that it's not a traditional ceremony. This lady goes in, and you all sit around the fire, and she starts dancing and singing and making things. Now, um, you'll see in a while that she has a hat that's got 4 points on it, and the hat is known as the Four Winds hat. So, being a shaman and having spiritual beliefs, um, the hat is a reminder that the winds are not all blowing at the same time, and keeping the Lappland a nice place to live. There you go. That was it, Johnny. That's the Four Winds hat. And she performs a ceremony. And the first thing she does is she takes a coal out of the fire, and she comes along and she puts 2 black marks on your forehead. And that is because when you are reincarnated, you will come back as a reindeer, and that's where your horns will grow. And then she gives you, she comes around with a big mug, a brown wooden mug. We actually have a couple in our bathroom. They're wooden carved mugs with reindeer milk in. And you have to drink the reindeer milk. And she says that it's an aphrodisiac. So you must swallow it very quickly, otherwise you'll have a problem with your mouth. And then she comes around, and this was the scary bit. She's got a Bowie knife in her hand, and she grabs you behind the head, pushes your head forward, and makes as if she's cutting your neck with the Bowie knife. Which, of course, she does it in such a way that when you see her doing it to all the other people, it's like, oh, and those were the days when it was, what about AIDS and what about this? But obviously she doesn't actually cut you, but it's to do with the letting of the spirit out so that the reindeer can get it. It's a fun thing, but these are the sort of things, I'm telling you these because here are a people that have created from nothing something that attracts people and makes people like me talk about it 20 years later. It's an amazing, it's absolutely amazing. The other animal, which we will see pretty soon, are huskies. There are a lot of huskies because obviously for trading they need husky sleighs. Here's a lady. These are husky puppies, and of course all the ladies go, "Oh, cute!" But they're in a cage, and they actually use them to teach people how to ride a husky sleigh. Which I have to tell you, when you're going full pelt on one of those, with 4 huskies flat out around a rink, and you don't have any brakes and you don't have a steering wheel, it's really good fun. So here we have creation, people creating activities that attract people and give them an income. And they're an amazing people, really. That's the wind god, by the way. That's in the shaman's tent. That wind god is watching over them. I think if I say that there's not a lot really much more, but if anybody would like to ask questions, I'll either you or Jenetta or anybody that's online,
I have a
Well,
question.
I'll try and answer.
My question is it possible to sign up to be reincarnated as something other than a reindeer, or is that the only option?
I don't know. Next time I go and I take Jenetta with me, she can remind me to ask the shaman.
Reindeer's here, Huskies
I want to be a
here.
lion. I want to be Sikalisa.
Jenetta, do you want me to leave the pictures up or not?
What
Yes,
other
I've still
pictures do
got
we have?
pictures.
Oh,
I've
more
still got
picture. Okay,
pictures. There's a
perfect.
little bit I wanted to say. Can you hear me?
Yes.
One of the things in my research that I found out is that it was only in 1927 in a radio show that the radio announcer suddenly said, you know what, Lappland is the land of Father Christmas. And that's when as Andy was saying, there was very little except for snow and northern lights and very, very little light for most of the year. They brought in Santa Claus. So that's the Santa Claus village, Andy.
Yes, I didn't mention that. This is Santa Claus's village, and there is a Santa Claus in there all the time. It has a variety of shops, restaurants, etc. But in the middle is Santa Claus, who sits on his throne, and you can go in and you can sit on his lap and have photographs taken. And I have to tell you, all these big executives, these directors and managers, all wanted a photograph to take back to their children of them sitting on Father Christmas's lap. What they've created here, again, in the middle of nowhere, you saw that photograph, is this huge theme park, really, where you've got so many things to do and so many things to see, including Father Christmas, of course. And a very, very big thing in Rovaniemi that everybody does is karaoke. Every bar has a karaoke, and you can't get out of it. I tried many times, and this, thank you, Jenetta. This is a restaurant made of ice. The whole thing is ice. You can see the chairs are ice, the tables are ice, and it's in a huge igloo. And we had our gala dinners, and you can go there. And of course, you eat reindeer meat and mashed potato, but it's all inside. You have to wear your thermals to eat your dinner, but it's just an amazing experience being in this huge igloo. It's got 2 halls and loads of chairs and tables, and the waitresses come around and serve you a 3-course meal.
That Andy, I mean, it sounds like you only had reindeer meat and mashed potato, but you sent me this photograph. Do you want to describe what that is?
That's like a salami and cheeses and fish. So you've got a whole variety, and there's if you have a look at the back, you can see the wooden cups that you drink out of there, because otherwise your mouth sticks to china or glass because it's too cold. So you've got your wooden. I think you've got some prawns there and some finished bread, salami, reindeer sausage, reindeer cheese. So yeah, that's a different type of dish that you would get as well. It's not just reindeer meat and mashed potato. Although I have to tell you, It's delicious. Reindeer meat and mashed potato it's like a reindeer stew, and it's absolutely delicious. You go back for seconds every time.
I'm going to take your word for it. So,
And you
it
know,
sounds like it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of singing. Do you ever warm up?
yes, because they love saunas.
Mm.
Absolutely, every hotel, every home has got its own sauna. And the other thing they do is which is I wouldn't do it now, but people don't wear any clothes in the saunas. Everybody is starkers. And then when you're really warmed up, they open the door and you run out and dive into the snow. And then you go back into the sauna again. And they love their saunas. So yes, you warm up in the saunas.
That sounds really interesting. Jenetta, you haven't been there yet, right?
I haven't. There's so many places actually Andy wants to take me to, and as we were saying just now, they'd be wonderful future programs, Andy. And so yeah, but these are the three that he talks about the most. Is here, and do you want to share just quickly what the other two are?
Well, I think that probably one of the most effective trips I went was to Malaysia. And what I tend to do is if the group is going to a country that I either like going to or haven't been to before and want to see, because the most expensive part of any of these trips is the airfare, I tend to book my airfare back 3 or 4 days later. And we had half of the incentive was in Kuala Lumpur and the other half was in Penang. And when everybody went, I booked into the Shangri-La and put my backpack and my T-shirts, and I went on a train right to the top of the island to a place called Kota Baru. And then hitchhiked and bussed and taxied all the way down the coast until I got back to Kuala Lumpur. And the one of my things is that when I go to these countries, I want to meet the people and I want to eat their food. So I eat off the streets. One of the most sensational things I ever saw was halfway down in a place called Kuantan, and I was staying in a little shack. And at 10 o'clock at night, the guy who owned the shack came out and said, "Come, come, come." And I went with him and we walked down onto the beach. And there was a giant leatherback turtle, almost the size, of a VW Beetle, just laying her eggs. And this huge, huge, huge reptile. And she covered up the eggs, and they're really, really careful. They have red lamps so that you can't disturb her. You can't go near her, touch her. And eventually she turned around and headed back about 200 meters to the sea. And all the way it was this cumbersome, huge animal. And you know, your instinct is you want to pick her up and help her, but you can't. And then she got to the water's edge and she got into the shore break, and she suddenly transformed from this cumbersome, overweight animal into this sleek, smooth, unbelievably graceful. And she went across the shore break, and she turned backwards as if to look to see and say, "I'm gone now, and bye." Well, I have to tell you, it took me 15 minutes to stop crying. It was so emotional. So that's one of them. And at the other end of that story is, you know, when you go into a restaurant and you see they've got a tank with lobsters and fish in, and you choose what you want for your dinner. Rantau Bang was where I actually drew a line under eating what they eat, because in that tank were bullfrogs this big big, green, greasy bullfrogs. And you could have it potted, curried, chili, garlic, whatever. And I said, no, that's the end of that. So Malaysia is definitely one. I don't know how much more do you want me to go on?
We do have another comment from Gaffa. Beautiful stories. So thank you for commenting.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's
Gaffa.
one of the best.
Yeah, and of course the other two is Portugal and Lebanon too. But we'll talk about that another time. Andy, I tell you, just such a treat to have you on the show today. And you, Dr. Jacalyn, I had to smile as you and I hit backstage. I deliberately wore red because of Father Christmas in Lappland, and here you and I silently coordinated it. It's like, wow, I love it when that happens.
I love it. And I love the fact that I get to be here with the two of you, husband and wife and husband, and sharing stories. It's really beautiful. I'll just share quickly. My last fam trip, Andy, was to London and to Monte Carlo. It was in 2018. And that was the only time I was in London.
Well, I have to tell you, how many times have I said to Jenetta, one of these days, we're going to take 3 days off, not tell anybody where we're going, book into a hotel in London and become Tommy tourists for 3 or 4 days, because there's so many places that I've never been, and I've lived in England. Apart from where I'm being born there, I lived in England for 35 years, and I haven't been into the Houses of Parliament. I haven't been into St. Paul's. So one day I'm going to do what you did and do a Tommy tourist.
It was great.
Perhaps we could do it when you come over for World Jenny's Day, Dr. Jacalyn, and we have our gala evening, and we do something, at least one of those things, as part of being in London. Let's see what we can create.
Let's put our heads together.
If I can finish off, I'll tell you the significant places. Some of them I've been to. I've been to Jordan, which to me is one of my favorite places. You've got Petra, you've got, you can go down to Aqaba, you've got the Dead Sea, you've got Amman, and you've got a place called Jerash, which is an old Roman city that has an amphitheater for 4,000 people made out of stone. Bali has probably got the quickest dropping sunsets, the most amazing fish. The Grand Cayman, when you get on a boat and you go off and to a sandbank, Stingray City, feed the stingrays, and then just off the sandbank is what they call the aquarium. That's an amazing place. I won't go on anymore. I could keep going for a long time.
Well, we look forward to having you on future episodes of the show.
Well, thank you, my darling, for stepping into this place. I know it's...
Yeah, I know.
He's rendered speechless.
Anyway, thank you very much for having me on. Thank you, Jacalyn.
Thank you, Andy.
And hopefully we'll get to meet you in London sometime soon. Or you can always visit us in Kenya. You know, this is a place I never thought I was going to end up. I thought I was going to end up in Portugal, retired, but now I'm very happy here in this wonderful place called Kenya.
Well, it looks absolutely beautiful from what Jenetta shared. And Andy, if people would like to reach out to you and work with you, what's the best way for them to do that? And who would you like to contact you?
And to be honest with you, I've got a couple of big clients that I deal with, but anybody wants any information or wants to talk to me, it's Andy at I-E for Echo, M for Mike.co.uk. Andy at I-EM.co.uk. Send me an email and I'll answer any questions or help in any way I can and give any advice. If you want to know where you want to visit and you'd like to know, have I been there and would I go there? And TripAdvisor is not always the best.
Thank you, Andy. Would Andy or Jenetta, would you please put Andy's email into the comments, private chat, so I can put it out there for everyone? That would be great. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Our next show is coming up. It's the United Kingdom News and Culture. Andy, you're waving.
Bye.
Bye, Andy. Thank you. Jenetta, we have Andy's email address, which I'm going to share. And for people who would like to know more about World Jenny's Day, what can you share with us?
Okay, you broke off a little bit there. Yes, Andy's email address has come up now. And World Jenny's Day, well, it's definitely a show on its own. It's every 10th of October. If you'd like to know more about it, it's www.worldjennysday.com. And it's every 10th of October. It has a very heart-opening, it's a heart-wrenching, turning into a heart-opening story behind it. Do go and visit the website. And by the way, we've got the new website launching tomorrow. We had a very special family member in the form of my eldest son sponsor a brand new website for us. And so it's being launched tomorrow. Go and have a look, see the backstory. We've got a gala evening on the 10th of October in central London with top celebrities. We've got Jason Donovan, we've got Peter Andre, Misha Paris, Kev Orkian and Jason Donovan are performing a comedy act together, a singing comedy act together, and many other people. In fact, we've just had the American music industry step forward and show great interest to be part of the gala evening. And we've got 24 hours around the world with performing artists. So go and have a look at it. And some amazing happenings before then. In fact, 10th of October almost becomes the closing ceremony for a whole year of happenings. So just go and have a look at it.
Thank you so much, Jenetta. And thank you for another fabulous show and for introducing us to your husband. That was super fun. So I appreciate it.
Very special.
All right. We're coming right back with the United Kingdom news and culture with our expert correspondents letting us know about the upcoming coronation and everything that's going on there in the United Kingdom. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Bye, everyone.
Bye.